I know I have a quick distraction here.
Yeah.
Really quick. I got to get this rant out.
Okay.
So, since we've spent all this time talking about Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit, uh, dude, and I don't even want to get in all the drama about this, but the whole Steven Dorff thing. I'm sorry, man. Him saying Scarlett Johansson should be embarrassed about being in Black Widow. This coming from the guy who was in a Limp Bizkit video. Who should be embarrassed about what, sir? Anyways, I did really like him in True Detective, though, in season 3. He's really good in that. But I'm like, I read that bit of celebrity gossip, and I was like, wait, okay, dude, what? You were in Aerosmith videos and a Limp Bizkit video. I know he did more than that. This is my quick Limp Bizkit tie-in there, and
So I was talking to some people on Facebook, and we were reminiscing about video stores. So that's what this was about.
Video stores.
Yeah. So
we had access to a good one.
Yeah. But I still remember the day we got our first VCR in the late 80s. And I can't remember much from my childhood, but this was a momentous occasion. I went downtown with my mom to the video store. VCRs cost hundreds of dollars at the time, probably, and they were new technology, state of the art. I don't remember the name of the particular video store, but it was in the Drake Square building. It was right on the corner there. Jamie knows and nobody else knows.
Yeah,
but I can get a mental image of it. And it was just small and rows of shelves, and there was a cardboard cutout of Freddy Krueger at some point.
I remember. Wait. Maybe, because we have to remember, I didn't actually move here until 91.
Mm-hmm.
So I might not.
It might not.
I don't know if
there.
I remember that one.
But yeah, okay. So it had cardboard cutouts and posters on the walls, and so my mom made the purchase and probably rented some cartoons, and we were the proud owners of a video cassette recorder. And the first show I remember taping was Danger Mouse off Nickelodeon. Later, there were two main competing video stores in town, though the others came and went. Movie Stop and Movie Magic were the ones we went to. We didn't have Blockbuster. Movie Magic was smaller, and Movie Stop, which somehow is still in business, had two floors. Yeah.
Yes, and they're independently owned. So,
which is rad, yeah.
Yeah.
It had 2 floors and rented and sold all kinds of stuff, and we actually used to hang out there after school.
Yeah, it was It was also originally it was Movie Stop Rent Town. Right. And it was an independently owned furniture rental too in the upstairs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they had tanning beds you could rent or something too. All this crazy stuff.
And we used to hang out upstairs and play their demo gaming consoles.
Mm-hmm.
And the staff there was always really, really awesome and really cool.
Yeah.
And they let us do this shit. We weren't hurting anything.
But yeah, it was usually me and you, and we'd hang out there and buy Mountain Dew, and they had Pogs there too. They sold Pogs.
Yes. And incense.
Mm-hmm.
Incense sticks.
And rent a movie, and then we'd wait for your mom to get off work and drive us up the hill.
Yep.
So this was an important time in our life and an important place for us.
What was also really nice about them too is we had my mom we had our family rental account, right? But my mom signed the paper that I could rent any movie.
Yep.
As long as it wasn't porn. Which they did have a fairly notably large adult video room there too. And I just remember other people talking about it, and we weren't allowed in there.
Mm-hmm.
But
I remember renting video games there.
Yes, video games.
And I remember walls of the original NES games, and I don't know. I don't know with you,
Movie
but
Stop.
with other people, I know I brought my Game Genie over earlier with NES games and actually, like, rented, like, what was that called? Boy and His Blob, yeah. And, getting codes for different types of jelly beans. And that
See, I
was
had the
some cool
Sega
stuff.
Genesis at the same time, so
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. So I got the violent games. My mom was like, yeah, whatever. But no, what was really weird, and this is also kind of indicative of us personality wise, courtesy of my mom signing that lovely paper on our family account that I could rent any movie, left us open to start developing our passion for video nasties. They had at this store, once again, this was independently owned. They have the largest independent or like largest horror section I've ever seen in any video store ever. And it was all across the board. There were straight to video, like 90 straight to video movies. Yeah, Sledgehammer. Yeah, saw that.
Yeah.
And they also did 5 movies for 5 days for $5, as long as it wasn't a new release. So anything upstairs that the older horror that you could get that. So that started let's rent this whole block of Troma movies. Let's rent this whole block of Full Moon movies. Let's rent this whatever the hell this is.
Yeah, you can get like an entire series and watch it, one day after another.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I definitely have to say that, courtesy of like having access to Movie Stop, that's really where, I saw a lot of the movies that I did that you can't even find now. And, and you too, unless we ended up.
It has changed a lot though. Like what people watch has changed. Like,
Yes.
Because, we used to go to the video store to get them. And now, like Netflix or Hulu or Amazon makes our choices for us, which horror movies we watch, if it's horror movies, specifically.
See, this is why I have Shudder, but it's still the same.
This is why I still buy
I mean?
DVDs.
Yes, you could do that too. I live my media cloud life, but then there's still weird movies that like I can't find on DVD or video that I found streaming on Tubi, like old horror movies. Dude, what was the one that surprised me? I'm like, oh my God, they have this. It is the 3rd movie in, it's the one Cannibal Holocaust.
Hold on. Yeah, shout out to Chris because he told me to, he was recommending something on his blog, with Roddy Piper in it because I was talking about They Live Before.
Hell Comes to Frogtown?
Anyway, I didn't watch
I don't think Roddy Piper did too many movies. Yeah. Sorry.
But it's on Tubi. That's all I remember.
It has to be Hell Comes to Frogtown. I'm sorry, because that's where I watched that on, and I love that movie. Oh God, that was one I used to watch, courtesy of Up All Night. I saw that movie probably way before I was young. Yeah, like what got me? I'm trying to look for. What is it? Cut and Run. It's the 3rd movie in the Cannibal trilogy. They have that on Tubi. So, like if you've never seen that one, that's a good one. Especially like following up Cannibal Holocaust. So I mean, you can find the video nasties still on the internet and for free. And I kind of like that, but it would have never happened without a video store, for at the time. And then it's weird too, because like I remember, like you remember the one in the Drake Square. I remember the one out in Seneca, and they recently tore the building down. It was like that big brown industrial building, and it had like the car wash, and it was by the old police barracks. And so That one, I remember for the longest time, I was like, because they had a cardboard cutout of Freddie from Dream Child.
Mm-hmm.
And it was him with the stroller. And I remember one time like turning a corner and they had it like in the back, and it was like it startled me when I was like 10, or no, I was older than that. But yeah, so I remember that one. And then I think that one later went on to become the video part of Red Express. Yeah, I mean, they had a really good selection too for, being there was a video store I was in when I did a small stint in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an independently owned video store. And and what surprised me is this was my J horror phase.
Yeah.
And I ended up, courtesy of this place in like rural Ohio. I wish I could remember your name. I'm very sorry, because you guys deserve massive credit for this. They had the biggest foreign horror section I'd ever seen. And I ended up going through like all those movies. I was like, yes. And and once again, it surprised me. I'm like, this is, middle of nowhere, Ohio, and you have a pretty impressive foreign horror section.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's what I like, as opposed to like Blockbusters.
You're right.
We had Video Warehouse. Something that bothered me though a little more when it comes to like video and DVD rental, what really I think kind of got me was that weird in between phase between the streaming and whatnot. Because Netflix, Netflix, when it first started, when you just got DVDs, like that was what I ended up started doing, because it was like, oh my God, every freaking foreign movie, art movie, horror movie, whatever, I can get it here and I don't have to go anywhere. I just got to walk to my mailbox.
Yeah, and you just drop it off in the mailbox. I
loved that.
Yeah.
I actually
used to take the dog down to the mailbox and just, walk the dog with the,
I think they still offer DVD service. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Sometimes
but I had the 3 for a while.
What got me though is like, when you could get DVDs from Netflix before it went fully streaming, and that kind of, I think you can still get DVDs from them. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the streaming at first to me felt like bargain bin, and sometimes it still does. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Why am I paying for you? Which is why I think overall I enjoy my Prime Video subscription more, because it leaves it open to a lot of stuff. Like if I want something, I can buy it or rent it or whatever. But the thing that kind of got me for a while there, and I was like, dude, we're just kind of like taking away the options and the choices, was Redbox.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Redbox and the Blockbuster box, where like, they're good if you just want whatever new release.
Yeah.
And, those kind of, I don't know. I kind of did not like those.
Yeah, so. But now, I mean, there's so many problems with Amazon, and yet I get on there the other night because I was watching like a ContraPoints video that was referencing Black Swan, and I'm like, well, I haven't seen that yet, so I'm just gonna rent it.
Cool.
And just immediate, and it's just so strange compared to, we used to have to, it was over a period of days we'd have to rent things. Now
right.
I just have my PlayStation remote, and I say, well, I'll just type it in, and
right.
It's pretty crazy, but it screwed over the small stores,
Yes. Yeah, because we had Movie Stop, and then we had the other one down the street, Movie Magic. Now, Movie Magic had their horror section was small, but they carried a lot of independent stuff too. Yeah. So, and
but they were worth checking out them too, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So we just run down the street, because they were a couple blocks from each other.
Like, we'll check it out and then we'll make a decision.
Yeah.
Dude, and they had the bubblegum machine. Bubblegum machine, where, if you got the white bubblegum or the white ball, that bubblegum ball, got the white one, you got a free movie rental. So, there were times that we would stupidly dip into our movie rental money to try to win a free movie because we were kids.
But
We
then,
didn't make
like,
a
and
decision then.
so then I have here, in 2001, I left college for a while and moved in with a friend in Pittsburgh. She and her roommate had an extra room, and we could then split the bills 3 ways. One of the first places we started going after I got a job at a convenience store, after 3 days at working at McDonald's, and then I told them to take their job and shove it. Wait, okay, digression there. After I got a job at a convenience store, the first place we went was an incredibly strange video. I mentioned the convenience store because it was in Dormont, only a few blocks away from ISB. So I got to work by taking the trolley, and I could just walk there before or after work to rent or return movies, because there was not a drop box. You had to, like, go in physically. But the store was everything you've ever dreamed of, you know, concerning horror, cult, science fiction, and just general weird stuff. And there were books about Lucio Fulci, there were t-shirts, action figures for sale. So some days we just hunt down the weirdest seeming thing we could find, like Jorg Buttgerite's Necromantic or Lucker the Necrophagus, which was like the terrible movie I've ever seen. It was just awful. Stuff you couldn't get at Blockbuster anyway, right?
Right.
Not that we shopped there in the first place. And I was still reviewing them for the website, even though we were not in the same town anymore, you know. We were still...
Yes.
We were still reviewing stuff online and talking about horror movies, because that was what we do. We talk about creepy and weird shit.
Yes, we do. We let you know.
There weren't social media sites then.
No.
Web rings and directories of horror sites. Remember these things?
Yes. Oh man. Yeah, so, you know, and that was also, I think, the fun too for us at that point in time was having, you know, being in an area where we had really decent, you know, video stores for a small town. We did, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least incredibly strange though, having like the specialized, you know, because I don't know what the video stores were like in Pittsburgh. I wasn't there. Now I will say, like, around the same time, I was out in Chicago, and they had a Blockbuster there that was actually really nice. Like, to me, it almost felt like being in Movie Stop again, except it was a Blockbuster. And it always made me wonder, like, I don't think it was a corporate one. I think somebody owned it, like, independently, but they had like a decent selection there, and kept me going, you know, at that point in time. And yeah. And
I remember, like, in between all of this, and like maybe also when I was in Pittsburgh, I was also, you know, just researching movies and like trying to track down the weirdest and the most obscure shit. And like sometimes I'd buy like pirated copies on eBay on VHS and shit. And because I got like so I remember reading about the guinea pig movies and thinking, well, this is the stuff we really need to see. And then Netflix had them, you know? Right.
One of my favorites forever, and this is stemming from the website that we worked for, well, that we worked on, that we did. A certain point in the forums, it was everybody like, you need to see this movie, The Dead Hate the Living. You need to see this movie, The Dead Hate the Living. And it was like, okay, we really need to, everybody's saying we need to see this movie. We need to see this movie. Tracking it down, I remember, because, you know, you mentioned, you know, like the birth of the video rental stores, because VHSs were expensive if they were not licensed for resale. And so this is also what changed the dichotomy when DVD hit the scene too, because DVD wasn't like that. So there was like your rental and your resale. So like, yeah, for one VHS, if it wasn't for resale, you know, you were paying $100 or more for it to buy it through a licensed video store. And even then at that point, you know, you still had to be careful of what you did with that copy of said VHS. So I ended up tracking down The Dead Hate the Living, spent over $100 on it, and then was like, I do remember watching. Oh, I think we just riffed on that movie the entire time. I don't think we were actually even aware what was happening when we were watching it. And I just remember the biggest thing being like, I just spent $100 for this movie, but I still love it in hindsight. But yeah, so this is where video stores were important. Mm-hmm. Very important. You know, I know.
But you never knew what you were going to get.
No, it was literally the Cracker Jack box. It you know, the man, yeah, and like the guinea pig films. I got to bestow those upon someone, and it was like my horror sensei moment of like, okay, you know, yes, I understand you have been watching horror movies. That's good. You have a love of it. Now here, watch this. You can thank me later when you're like, what the fuck did you just do to me, Jamie? And yeah, so yeah, I want to shout out to Rich for that one. And yeah, I'm sure he can chime in with yes,
I just
the passing
remember
on
reading like descriptions of Mermaid in a Manhole, and like it sounded so much cooler than it was.
But it's still at the same time was like this, the culture shock, I think, of it was for me.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, my favorites were like He Never Dies and I mean, Flower of Flesh and Blood.
You know, what happened to me, though, it also, and it was like kind of the opposite, where like the movies I ended up like, here was my Cracker Jack box. Dude, weird European like horror softcore. Yeah. And one of them's still my favorite, and I actually recommended it to somebody, and they're just like, dude, what the fuck? And it was The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave. And I got weird shit like that. And The Living Dead Girl. And which, yes. You know, do you remember? Because I don't. Because even Sean was like, how the hell did you get this? Mm-hmm. How was it that we got the screener for House of a Thousand Corpses again?
Oh, yeah, that was...
Okay, because I remember we both got a copy.
Mm-hmm.
And because I remember being like, what is this envelope?
For ISV... I dropped up Zombie Girl stickers at ISV anyway. I remember that.
Right.
And then they did like, then he had like events and things, and I remember me and Jen went to the one. We went to the Pittsburgh premiere of Citizen Toxic Avenger 4, and Lloyd Kaufman signed my copy of Tromeo and Juliet, and Jen's copy of Toxic Avenger, which I have around here somewhere. But yeah, that was some of the fun stuff, you know, just revolving around being around a store that was like all horror and sci-fi and
specialized. Yes, It helped.
And an important aspect of that store was like no porn.
Right.
I mean, it was like freaky shit, but there was no porn. There was not a porn section. You know, that's not what it was about.
So it was kind of like well, you could say all ages, but you know, still like be prepared. You might see something weird.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was also, you know, kids could have come in there, you know.
Right.
I mean, I was 18 or 20 by the time I was there, but, you know.
Speaking of Zombie Girl stickers, I remember sticking a few of them in various bathroom stalls in different bars out in Chicago when I was there. And I lost, what sucked is when I came back and lost my digital camera because I only ended up with a couple pictures from out there.
I have so few pictures from back then.
Yeah.
So few pictures. Like, we had to, like, specifically make sure we got a camera the time Lloyd Kaufman was in ISV, and that's, like, the only... And I was looking for, like, outside photos of ISV, and I don't have any of those. I might have some, like, going down the street there.
So, Zombie Girls. I miss that sometimes. Well, not sometimes, you know what I mean? I didn't... But, yeah, I think for me... one of the things though is, the forum, dude. Yeah. So much fun on our forum. We had a lot of great people on there. Mm-hmm. People that we still have forged friendships with. Mm-hmm. You know who you are. You know who you are, Daniel. And this was early internet. Once again, pre-social media. So, yeah, sure. If you knew how to do it, you could set up bulletin boards and stuff like that, and there were quite a few of them, We weren't like the only one. We had a great viewer.
Because it wasn't just millionaires that controlled the entire internet at the time.
No.
It was like people who could like afford $10 here and there, monthly.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty much what it cost. And it wasn't like...
I like YouTube, though. I like YouTube. YouTube was, for me, like, out of all of it, like, to MySpace, whatever. Some of it, because I'm sure people will notice some of my lack of social media engagement sometimes. I mean, you say something to me, I'll be like, hey, what's up? But, I don't always, I don't know.
Social media is not my favorite form of internet.
No, but I loved YouTube. I think YouTube's great.
Yeah.
I have learned how to change my own headlight in my car courtesy of YouTube.
And recipes and all the things. I'm making a recipe thing for my other channel with what was it? With ants, and this is the mix bugs from Amazon. It's like pork rinds is what that tasted like.
Is it seasoned?
No.
Or anything? Just okay. I've had crickets and chocolate before, and it just reminds me of like a Nestle Crunch bar.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
the whole reason though toward getting the whole reason for getting your own domain then was to not have the ads that GeoCities and such had.
Right. And have your own direct Yeah.
And
there was a certain prestige that came along with having your own URL.
Right.
I mean, it's the reason why, like, if you go, like, dude, our domain name still it's got a squatter on it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's some straight ridiculous shit. Yeah, exactly.
That's what we have to say to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Our domain.
I'm so happy that nobody's ever paid your exorbitant fee that you wanted for something that wasn't even yours, you dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
Strong opinion time. Not sorry. It's true though. And that's the problem with the internet. That is my problem with the internet, or the commercialization of the internet.
Yeah.
Is that our domain name
just be like a bunch of like a loosely connected web of horror fans, and like sometimes we would interview people. Like I interviewed Paul Partain from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then like the author Supervert, whose work I still follow, and I still need to read his last book. It's like Who Is Your Death Hero or something. But mostly we just wrote reviews and like shared a love of horror. We didn't like You didn't have to market everything. It's just like if people were looking for horror, they would find our site.
Right. And for the time, though, we did kind of, while most of it was neutral, and the majority of our users were males, and not like creepy pervy ones, like just normal dudes.
Dudes who wanted to talk about horror movies.
Yeah. And what was funny, though, is even at the time, without being like, without saying, "Whoa, we're feminists" or anything, we did kind of offer like a female perspective on it, though. It was fun.
Yeah, we were like the female representation in the horror movie internet of the time, to our knowledge.
Even toward the later the later years, the fun, and it was so weird because I shouldn't have enjoyed it in some weird sadistic way as much as I did. Me and the Paranormal Activity coverage. Like, I had been getting like press releases and statements and stuff regarding that movie, and we were even like, huh, and then we ended up seeing it, and I think it was the only time we were ever actually just flat out mean to a movie. Yeah. I do. We always tried to find like a silver lining, like, this is what it is. I always had I hate it when people who aren't natural, like, fans of horror do horror reviews. Because sometimes it's like, you didn't get it, okay, whatever. Not to say that a good reviewer couldn't do, a good reviewer should be able to review all sorts of movies, all types of or all genres of movies. But with the internet and like everybody getting a blog, it's kind of like you can throw a rock and hit any person who's like writing a review, and I'm just, so many of them, sometimes I read and I'm just like, dude, I don't think you fucking got it. Like, you just didn't get it,
right? Which is why we specialized.
Yes And and it worked for us, and so this is the evolution, though. I'm sorry, and I wish we had this internet technology then. Like, this is where, at least the YouTube video, podcasts in general, like, God, I wanted it then. I was like, how could we figure out how to do this? And now we can do this. And so.
Well, I think we tried to record one once over a phone, didn't we? About Cannibal Holocaust or something, via the telephone. The problem is at that time, streaming players weren't, the compression technology just wasn't there, and we didn't know how to make it. So, like, and the costs of bandwidth and everything at the time, it wasn't unlimited like most are now. So, it was difficult, but we had, God, we'll have to start. I wonder if I have like a 3.5-inch floppy somewhere that might have some stuff on it. Yeah, I'm just this is the one thing that I was like, yay, future. This is what I wanted. I'm so out of touch with hosting and shit that I wouldn't even know where to go or what to do. That's part of my problem too. I realized is my internet usage is because I became an internet hermit. I became an internet hermit, and so like there are ways the internet works now that I'm just like, thanks for getting us to 100 subs, and
yes,
we have some more things planned. It's just real life has been
stupid. Scheduling issues and whatnot, but we're working on it. We're trying to get around here, so we're doing this for you. Thank you guys once again, for subscribing, and this is like low energy night, yay. So anyways, thank you again. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and yep,